and the quirkier side of life. The Todd Starnes Commentary.
Harvard professor Jeff Brown is the chief psychologist for the Boston Marathon. He's also my friend. Jeff and his wife Carol Lynn live in Boston with their 6-year-old son Grant, a spunky little blonde-haired kid who loved running and baseball and all the things that 6-year-old little boys love. On Monday, Grant was at a day camp when something terrible happened. It was an accident. It happened during a swimming event. The boy was rushed to the hospital, but there was nothing doctors could do. Little Grant was gone. Jeff shared these words on Facebook. Even when life is completely shattered, please help us keep our grip on the cross. Life is fleeting, but those who believe have hope. On Monday, Grant was running through grassy fields. Today, he's running on streets of gold. I'm Todd Starnes.
Amen, Todd Starnes. Thank you very much. Welcome back. Green Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on AFR Talk. And at the top of next hour, we're going to be talking to Hans von Spakovsky, former assistant to the Attorney General in the Civil Rights Department of the Department of Justice. He was the Assistant Attorney General. And he served there. He knows Eric Holder, and he knows the law. And Eric Holder said some things about Texas today that not only those of you in the great state of Texas should be concerned about, but everywhere. And it's in relation to voting. So hang on for that. And, of course, you will be hanging on because right now, favorite segment of the week, Afternoons with Aaron, senior pastor at Knollwood Church in Mobile, Alabama. And I love you, Mobile. I love you, Fairhope. Aaron Free. Great to be with you, my friend.
You too, Craig.
A lot to get to, and I was hesitant to even go with this topic because, frankly, I have no time for what has taken place and the way it's oftentimes being reported, and even clicking on the story involving Anthony Weiner and his mayoral candidacy, you're going to be confronted with things that, as I guess people have tried to benignly label as adult, well, the pornographic. And it involves just a basic thumbnail sketch. Anthony Weiner, serving in the House, was sexting somebody. And it was not his wife, who happened to be pregnant. That's Huma Abedin. That's Hillary Clinton's chief advisor. And the story came out. Now, Breitbart.com deserves the credit for breaking the story. Anthony Weiner took great umbrage and said, how dare you? And no, it's not true. And denied and denied and denied. And only when he was confronted with the evidence did he say, finally, where there was no place else to go and everybody knew it was him, he was lying, then he resigned. It wasn't like, oh, I did something terrible, I'm sorry, boom, I am going to resign. No, that's not what happened. Then he resigns from Congress, still getting that pension, and then comes back and says, I want to run for mayor 2 years later. I've been through therapy, and Uma and I have worked it out. We all prayed for the healing, and we all, obviously, as Christians, we are commanded to forgive, but not only that, we saw that. And now we are dealing with the revelations that he had up to three women, that's what the headline's saying, up to 3 women from the New York Daily News, that he has engaged in this behavior since resigning and only ended when he decided to run for mayor. His wife, Huma Abedin, did come out for him in a press conference and spoke up for him. Here is just part of that. And she is describing her marriage and what it took to stay together. Cut number 6. Roll it.
It took a lot of work and a whole lot of therapy to get to a place where I could forgive Anthony. It was not an easy choice in any way, but I made the decision that it was worth staying in this marriage. That was a decision I made for me, for our son, and for our family.
She went on to say about when she made that decision, she didn't know she didn't know what the future had in store for her and how it would turn out. Roll it.
I didn't know how it would work out, but I did know that I wanted to give it a try. Anthony's made some horrible mistakes, both before he resigned from Congress and after. But I do very strongly believe that is between us and our marriage. We discussed all of this before Anthony decided he would run for mayor. So really what I want to say is I love him, I have forgiven him, I believe in him, and as we have said from the beginning, we are moving forward.
Anthony Weiner took questions from the press afterwards and was asked about what did she know and when did she know it regarding the revelations that there were more women, that this behavior was taking place after he resigned. Roll it.
She knew all along this process. As I was more and more honest with her, I told her everything. This is something we knew going into the decision about whether I would run. What is that, Grace?
Is this over? Are you in touch with any women right now?
No,
Why should New Yorkers believe that this isn't going? You're not going to relapse if you are mayor.
This is entirely behind me. It was when I decided to get in, and we had this conversation. That is why, if you remember, in the early days of the campaign, people were pressing me for, is there more out there? And I said yes.
So
I said that there was, and so to some degree, this was something that we had in front of us, as Huma just acknowledged, that we knew might come up, and we decided that, look, this was something that we had worked through together, something had put behind us, and something we wanted to keep behind us. But as I've said, it's in our rearview mirror, but it's not far. We still work every day at our mirror.
All right, and we'll play the final clip a little later. Now, Pastor Aaron Free.
Yeah.
When you hear that, if they were coming to you or as a couple and saying this, and I know there are all sorts of circumstances that wouldn't be able to take place in the sense of limited knowledge of what we know, but what you have learned and what you know today, what scripturally, how are we supposed to respond to this?
Well, number one, adultery is very destructive, Crane, and you can see it. You know, it's in America. They say that's about 50% of men and women are having extramarital affairs, and so on this woman, Anthony's wife, Huma, you can see the pain and the destructive consequences of his behavior. And again, it's on both sides. There's women that have extramarital affairs and bring pain to their husband, and so first of all, I'd like to say to her. We should be praying for that young woman, that she's newly, born son and a life ahead, and she's got to face these terrible, destructive behavioral issues in her husband. But I will add that adultery is not the unforgivable sin, and I applaud her for saying, I want to make this work out and work through this, get some counseling, with Anthony and work through these issues. But as far as running for mayor, as I, look at all these details, it just seems to me that there has not been a trust rebuilt in his marriage. These issues have continued. And when adultery happens, and anyone that has ever experienced it will be able to tell you that it's very destructive. And there's pillars in a marriage. And trust is one of those main pillars that hold up a family and a home. And when that pillar of trust has been destroyed and shattered, it normally takes several years for the other partner to trust their spouse, relationally, that they're not going to fall back into this again. So for Anthony, would I say he's a trustworthy person? Absolutely not, because there hasn't been enough time for him to rebuild that trust with his wife and now with the entire city of New York. And there's many people that are saying, how can we trust him because of his behavior?
What about the argument that we hear so often in politics that, listen, this is a private matter. This doesn't reflect what I do in the public office. We can compartmentalize these things.
Mm-hmm.
Can we, as Christians, can we compartmentalize these things, Aaron?
No, because what I say is who you are in private is who you are in public. And obviously he led a very strange private life that he did not share with anyone, especially his wife, except the women that he was in online relationships with. And so who that man is in private will be who he is in public. You can't separate the two. And I think there are many voters that are saying that. And again, I applaud his wife for saying, I want to sort these issues out. Is he ready to run for, a public office, which requires, loads and loads of public trust? I don't think so. He resigned once because the public trust had been broken, and Nancy Pelosi was the one encouraging him to resign because the public trust had been shattered. So now again, he's asking the public to trust him. And once again, I think Nancy's saying this is probably not a time for you to run.
And for the first time ever, Hades is frozen over. It sounds like you agree with Nancy Pelosi. Now, the other part to this, and not making light of obviously what has happened here, is tremendously destructive. But here's what gets me. There are so many responses that Christians hear, and I have heard expressing when you judge this type of behavior, when you make a comment and criticism of the behavior, it's, hey, remove the speck out of someone else's eye, look at the plank in yours. You're not supposed to be judgmental. Remember, Jesus drew this circle around and said, hey, cast the first stone, those of you who have not sinned. And so I understand that reaction to a degree, but there's another part to me, is that sin, we will forgive, obviously, but the sinner, there's got to be an experience of godly sorrow. Now, somebody who, in the sense of being a sinner, I've been a sinner, we've all been sinners, disciple in progress, but there is a godly sorrow, okay? Coming to Christ, godly sorrow, Aaron, broke me down. And I was, considering myself a pretty good guy in the world by that definition. Nonetheless, godly sorrow. So what I'm saying is, having experienced it on some level, some degree, and then looking at this and saying, how on earth is this man putting his wife out there? It just chips me. It cheeses me because he's putting her in front of everybody. And here he is, and it's all about him. I mean, this is the clip number 9. Let's play that, and then I'll get your response to it, Aaron. We're just going to go along this segment. Here is Anthony Weiner. Do we have it? In response, and this is what I mean. Roll it.
I said there were more things out there. You have as a fixed time the resignation as the important moment in the public discussion. That was when the public got a glimpse into something that we had been working on before, during, and since. And this behavior of mine was part of that. And when we went through this process and we became closer and worked through some of these challenges, we put it behind us, and I put it behind me. And frankly, we're in a lot better place today, or else I would not have run for mayor.
When was the last explicit text or Facebook?
I can't say exactly. Sometime last summer, I think.
Was it after you told People Magazine, quote, or your wife told People Magazine, it took us a lot of work to get where we are today, Anthony's trying to be the best husband he can be?
Yes.
Was it after that?
Yes.
Mayor Mounty calls you to drop out of the race. What do you say to those people who want you to drop out of the race?
I'm sure many of my opponents would like me to drop out of the race.
That response, Aaron, that's what gets me. Your wife's out there, and understand, Huma Abedin has her own story and connection with Muslim Brotherhood. That's not an issue here, in my estimation. The issue is your wife, and you're doing this to her, and that's a flip response. Oh, yeah, my opponent, see. What's his idol? The mayor's seat? Your thoughts, Mayor?
Well, his idol, Crane, first of all, there's a larger issue here, and maybe we can talk about after the break, but
okay.
For me, he does what a lot of us do, and I've been guilty of this myself, is that, when we blow it, when we sin, we never ask the question, what does this cost my family? What does it cost the people around me?
Let's answer that on the flip side of the break, because you set it up, and I think that's a good place to start. Repeat the question. What does this cost?
What does my sin cost others? We never ask that. We only ask, what does my sin cost me?
On the flip side, we will examine that question. Also, the prayer for those to come to Christ. You can go on American Family Radio, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth Facebook page, or as I like to refer to it, the Facebook, and put your name down on people you're praying for, or maybe you're struggling yourself, because we all do, with your faith, with your pursuit of Christ. Well, check out the Facebook page. Feel free to put your name down, first name. Thank you. More Pastor Free next. AFR Talk.